Excited. If you've seen the draft room, we've got a little tense there at 3, but we're excited. We did a lot of work on Anthony. Spent a lot of time with him, over the last month, and think he's a good fit for us. Let's don't crown him yet. All right, he's a young player. He's got work to do, but we like his talent. We like what he can be, and I don't think Shane can tell you either. But what I can tell you is, we drafted him for what we think he can really be in the future. He's a very smart young man, good kid. He works. We think it's all in front of him. So we're excited to get him. Fire away.
You said a guy tends at 3. Care to elaborate?
What's that?
Care to elaborate?
Anytime before,
Weird, right?
anytime you're sitting there and you kind of targeted a guy and in front of, that you always worry somebody jumping up and getting them. You always wonder if somebody's laying in the weeds, and good for us, they weren't.
Do you remember your first impressions of seeing Anthony?
Yeah, obviously the tape was the first time I saw him. Just his playmaking ability, what he brings from a playmaking ability, and his physical skill set is impressive. Obviously, there's a lot of work that we got to do with the whole team, not just him. But there's certain things that he brings to the table that we're so excited about as a football player in the future of this organization.
What is it about his personality that makes you think that he can shoulder that face of the franchise that you talk about, where you're going to get crowned or?
Yeah, well, look, he's young, but he's very poised. I think you see it when he plays. Like when you look at he's a very poised young man. Even though he hadn't had a lot of starts, it's the one thing that, I kept going back and watching, all his pressures, everybody that pressured him, and that's when you really saw his poise come to light. Like any young man, he's not even. He turns 21 here, middle of May, so he's going to have growing to do, like all of them do. But we'll help him. And we'll bring him along, and he'll be a good player for us.
I think that's an interesting point, because there's so much about him that people say needs to be developed, but that's an area where young quarterbacks don't usually show that, right? Shane, you can comment on this too.
Yeah, I think with anything, right, I think the development of players comes with more experience, right? 13 starts, I think when you play more, that's how you develop. You know what I mean? So with him playing and his experience as a player and getting more reps, right, practice reps, game reps, I think that's how you develop.
That poise, though, that's a pretty strong indicator for you think?
Yeah, there's no doubt. When you watch him against the pressure in the pocket, just his movements in the pocket, feeling the rush, not seeing it, being able to get out of the pocket and create the explosive plays that he does is pretty dynamic.
Chris, so you did target him? Did you target Anthony? Because you said you didn't target one specific player.
We liked him a lot, Stacy. Yeah, we liked him a lot.
Chris, when you see the 53.8%, whatever it was last year, is there context around that? What did, you see out of that number?
There's always, and it's fair. That's a fair assessment. And I think the one thing we're seeing in the league now is guys you can work on and get them more accurate. Just footwork, fundamentals. There's certain things I think we can do, and I think you've seen guys jump in our league. And I think you'll see him jump.
Chris, you talk about the
That's part of it. It's part of just playing too. The more you play.
Given you talk about you drafted him for what he can be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
When you draft a quarterback guy, normally it's what can you do for us sooner, not later. What do you see immediately? It's not a redshirt season for him, is it?
I'm not going to say that. He's got to come in and earn his way, like every player we bring in. But let's don't expect him to be Superman from day one. And I think history shows there's not many of them that are Superman from day one. Some of them it takes 2-3 years to become a really good player. It's probably the one area where I've seen it, and this is even before me even being in a league, but it's the one area where teams that the pressure for these guys after 1 or 2 years, back, 10, 15 years ago, guys would get year 3, 4, 5. Think about it. Terry Bradshaw, he might not have ever played in today's NFL. It took him time in Pittsburgh. We got to let these guys develop and play, and They're going to have some struggles, and then they got to work through the struggles. And eventually their talent, the more they play, their talent will come to life.
Chris talked about this the other day, but when you have Gardner, doesn't he give you that buffer to where you don't have to just throw the young kid in?
Yeah, I mean, Gardner's a good player. Obviously, we brought him in here for a reason, and obviously we'll see how that whole thing shakes out, you know what I mean? I mean, we got to get Anthony in here and get him started in OTAs and go through training camp and go through that process and see where it goes from there.
When did you know? Like 13 games as a college starter, that had to make you a little uneasy. When did you know you were comfortable with this?
Because you didn't know how the draft was going to go a month ago.
Really?
Yeah, after we spent time with him, you know, we knew, after we spent our time, worked him out, spent a lot of time with him, just felt really good about who he was as a person. You know, of course, he's still young, but just felt really good about who he was.
How many times did you guys meet with him in the process?
Yeah, well, we spent an entire day with him down at Florida. I mean, we actually worked him out. I know there were some comments made that other teams went and worked out and got to see more, but I think when we went and worked him out, we got to see a lot because we got to put him through drills with just us. And then we brought him into the building and spent another full day with him. And then I give our scouts credit now. You know, Morocco Brown went in and like back in August, I'm getting these text messages from Morocco. He's at Florida practice going, you should see the show that I'm watching on this practice field right now. So we had some awareness of, you know, who he was and where he was, you know, what his talent level was a while ago.
You talked a lot about how a guy's wired and that being the separator. Any stories one-on-one with Anthony that kind of you walked away saying this guy's wired the right way?
Yeah, I think just his character, you know, the vetting process that we did, calling around people that know him, that have been around him. I mean, that's a big part of this thing. And there's a lot of guys that I know, that I trust, that I talked to about him, and everything was, you know, right at the top of the list as far as that concerned. And then just going through, having him here, getting to know him as a person, talking football with him. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player in this league.
Is there a comp? Is there a comp? I mean, he's so unique in his skill set.
I hate to make that comparison. Yeah, he's pretty unique, Bob. He's a pretty unique athlete and talent.
Shane, everyone's going to kind of immediately think Jalen, just because that's where you just were and he ran for a lot of yards. But are they similar? Are they different? What do you see?
I think that's kind of what he just asked, the comp. I'm not going to compare anybody. I think Anthony Richardson is Anthony Richardson. He's his own person. I don't like to compare.
I meant in terms of the offense, though, like the offense you're running, not the players so much as.
Again, I'm not going to get into scheme either.
At the combine, he mentioned that he kind of had to grow up because of some personal things faster. Did that play in to this at all, the maturity of him off the field?
Yeah, I mean, it's all encompassing. Like when you're evaluating any player, every player's got their own journey and their own story, okay, of who they are, and you know, and how they got to where they are today, and you know, it's been and everyone's unique, you know, and it makes us who we are. And I mean, just like all of you, you have your own story of how you ended up where you are today, and Anthony's got that. I think every player in the draft has that. Everybody has their own story.
How do you think Anthony's like running ability maybe raises his floor? Because right now it's like, oh, he's so raw. But like, how does that change the conversation around what he
That's a
can do?
good question. It definitely helps. I mean, when a guy can run and add that element to your offense, I mean, it's a big plus. It puts stress on defenses, and obviously he has that capability. But I just wouldn't sleep on his throwing ability either. I mean, that ball comes out pretty now. He can spin it. He's got a huge arm, and he's made some huge plays in the pass game. So we're excited to work with him.
You've got a quarterback who's not played a lot, so he's got some room to learn, but also, you know, on one hand, maybe he needs the reps to be able to do that. So how do you kind of weigh those two things?
Yeah, no question. Those are the conversations that we've had, whatever quarterback, you know, that we would have taken. I mean, those are the things, like those guys got to get reps, right, and learn the system, learn the offense. And you guys have heard me say this a bunch, right? We got to build this thing around the quarterback. And now, yeah, go ahead.
Him on the phone to let him know. And
What's that?
Did you call him tonight to let him know, Anthony? We didn't see.
Yeah, right when we got on the clock,
What was his reaction? Because he was really emotional.
he was emotional. Yeah, he's emotional. Yeah, which is good. Look, I'm emotional, so that's all right. And good for him. Damn right. You got drafted 4. You have some tears coming out too. It's a big moment for him and where he's come from.
You talk to these guys about their background, their family story, all that. I mean, how much of that did you talk to him about, and what came through when you had those conversations?
I think you know us well enough. We go pretty in depth on knowing who's involved, and and not just to him, to everybody. You know, former coaches, high school. I mean, as far back as you can go. So, look, it all plays into the final decision of what you make.
To be clear, I meant like, you know, he's got a personal story. You know, helping out his brother, and his mom went through a lot of things, and all that sort of thing.
No, I mean, yeah, it plays into it, but it also tells you a little bit about things he can handle. You know, we all. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I get frustrated. Now I'm gonna go off on a sidebar here. I almost said a bad word. All the crap that comes out about these kids, it's crap. Like, it's bullshit. I'm sorry, but it's bullshit. Like, people that leak these stories, these negative stories on kids, I don't agree with it. It's bullshit. These guys work their ass off to get where they need to be, and then all week you got to read and stories and ask and then they got to answer questions on it. So anyway, not on Anthony, it's on some other kids in the draft that are good kids, and I thought had to take a little bit of a beating that they shouldn't have had to take.
Chris, one more here. Any thought to, or I guess, did you call Arizona at all? Did you worry that
We talked to him, yeah, but at the end of the day, we just said, you know what, we're gonna sit and wait.
You finally picked a quarterback.
Yeah.
Relief? Excitement? Is it what 6 years?
It's well, we had one, remember? I mean, like, you keep teasing. But it's I think y'all know well. I mean, like, great. We're excited. We're excited to get Anthony. Now we got to go play. You know, so now you got to go prove it. So I stay pretty damn right I'm excited. But now you know, and then you sober up and say, okay, now we got to go play and make it work.
You're not going to tell me, but was it quarterback or bust?
Not necessarily. That was we had talks about moving back or even taking another position. That was real. I mean, we're not, you know, it's not, you know, you don't want to be, you know, just blindly stupid. So you got to be prepared for all of it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all. Sorry about the sidebar there. I apologize for that.